If you'd walked past London's Southbank almost any day in the last 4 decades, this is what you'd have seen. Skaters practicing tricks in the place known as the home of British skateboarding. Skateboarders have been using this space since the early 1970s, and for the people who come here regularly, the whole idea of moving it fails to recognise its historic value as the home of British skateboarding.
But they'll have to pull something special out of the hat if they're going to save this place.
Looking for a little inspiration. 'Cause when I fall, I get back up and then grab my board, do it again. I don't care, you can see the scars I wear. Skate, skate, skate out through the alley. Down, 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 see me valley. Go, go, go as fast as you can. Never alone when you got your board in hand. Today's the day, me and my friends are on our way, headed down to skate CNA. Got one mission, to skate every transition. Hope security doesn't get in my way. Skate, skate, skate down through the alley. Down, 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 see me valley. Go, go, go as fast as you can. Never alone when you got your skate in hand. I see a left hand kidney. Nothing's gonna stop me from dropping in. The sound of urethane, I'm cold.
So we're here to basically promote this, keeping the Southbank as it is. We don't want a relocation or the proposed relocation. Today is a bit of a big day, obviously, because they blocked it off temporarily. So we're trying to keep it here. We want kids to stay skating here. We don't want it to be moved. We think it defeats the purpose of the Southbank, like a pre-made space for skateboarding, especially here, won't really work because people come here because it is a free open space. People enjoy that. People enjoy the freedom. And it is free. It's literally free. Kids don't have to pay. You have to pay to go to a lot of skate parks here. Kids, it's central London. Kids can come in and have fun, and not just kids, anyone, all ages. So we just want to keep it a free open space for people to use and enjoy, as opposed to turning it into retail units, which is what's proposed by the Southbank Centre.
Well, the thing about the Undercroft is that, yes, it's skateboarders that are the custodians of the space, but take away the skateboarders and look at the people who are there, and that's what's important. And look at the people who aren't skateboarders who come and use the space for 5 minutes to watch, or for half an hour to take photos or film or whatever. The whole point of Southbank is that it's made by the people for the people. It's a reappropriated space that's recycled what was a dead space. That's what being a true urban citizen is about, and that's what the campaign is to protect. That's why it's so successful. Why it have 80,000 members.
Do you think that because of the success of the Long Live Southbank campaign through their Facebook, Twitter, etc., do you think a lot of people are getting a very narrow side of the story, a very sort of peripheral view?
Well, the 60,000 petition has been secured on 2 lies, basically. One is that we're kicking them out of the site altogether, and the second we're putting Starbucks in. Neither of those accusations are true. And in fact, we've come across scores, thousands of people, in fact, who signed the petition without being aware of that. And in fact, even Rich Holland and Ian Borden, who are working with us, and Soren, signed the petition as well. So I think that this petition is, I can see exactly how it's been driven with that sort of emotion, and also because the history around the world is that skaters are traditionally kicked off the site with no alternative site and no alternative provision, and people around the world are saying enough is enough. So I perfectly understand the emotion behind that campaign. But in this case, what we're offering is something that's completely unprecedented in the world. Nowhere else in the world is a cultural centre welcoming skaters, looking after them, providing a brand new space and designing it with them. And as I say, will be permanent for 128 years.
Henry Edwards Wood has said that about the Undercroft skate park. and skateboarding generally, it's about exploring and not doing what you're told. Not in an aggressive way, but in a productive way. Productive rebellion by recycling the city. And then referring to the Undercroft, this space is the original skate park, but designed way before street skating was invented. To destroy this place and give us a fake version is cultural vandalism. Firstly, what do you make of the claims? And secondly, do you think that the new skate space is still representative of the recycling the city idea?
Skateboarding is a nomadic activity. Skaters move into an area, use it, and then they move on. I think the point that is an important point is the heritage and the story since the 70s up to the current stage. The idea that history can't continue in new locations is a nonsense. You talk to any football fans at Arsenal, Manchester City, you talk to people who use markets like Borough Market, Smithfields, they have all relocated and they survived and thrived.
Everyone wants to see Southbank safe. I hardly meet anyone that is opposed to it once they understand what's going on. We've got 80,000 members who've said we want the Undercroft to be preserved as it is where it is. But the Southbank Centre have failed to provide any justification for relocation, any evidence that they need to do it, and no alternative plans. And there's never only one way to skin a cat, as they say.
We notified the skaters that in 2004 that the festival hall would be closing for major refurbishment, and we would have to utilise the core Undercroft for staff that had to be relocated out of the festival hall building. I said we would do as much as we could, but I couldn't guarantee that we could return that space. And because of the huge success of the festival hall and drawing those large numbers of people to the site, we had to sadly retain that area.
So, we've been doing 9 months of campaigning. The world has spoken, the people have spoken. We want the space to stay. It's the last true bastion of the people left in London that the people have made. And the way this city's going, it's going to be a sad day if it goes.
We made this space what it was. It wasn't a skate park before, it was just an open space. People started skating here. The new space is being built by a guy who used to work in a skate shop around here, called Rich, but he's one who's developing in it. He also helped develop this skate park in a London Bridge called Whitegrounds. It's closed down, no one's allowed in, it's not used. They opened it for about a year or so, then shut it. Kids don't go there because kids don't want that. It defeats the purpose of being free. If you put someone in a set space and say you have to do this now, that's not what skateboarding's about. Obviously, an argument's an argument. People are going to have opinions on both sides and obviously claim that they're more just, but they haven't really helped. We've been to meetings and they've said oh yeah, we'll go to meetings and discuss it. The meetings don't do anything. They basically set up a meeting so it feels like we're having a contribution when they know they haven't taken anything away from what we've said. They haven't tried to meet us halfway, and it's just a real shame that they're not willing to contribute.
What we mean by a skatable space is designing a space that's a public space for the public to use, but which can be skatable, and that's also the genesis of the Queen Elizabeth Hall Undercroft. And of course that's why we've invited Rich Holland and Ian Borden to create that brief. Now, nowhere else in the world has this type of brief been considered on this scale. And of course it will have the opportunity for graffiti artists, for parkourers and BMXers. And so all of those users have been involved in the brief, in signing off the brief. They were involved in the selection of the architect, and then we've had 3 workshops with the design team as that design has developed. In fact, the conversations and contact we've had with the skateboarders since February of this year constitute 142 hours, so it's nearly 18 days of consultations and discussions. So no one can say that we are acting in a high-handed way here at all.
There's a lot of argument to say, well, you've already reduced this in size, but then again, only making 10% bigger doesn't really make up for the previous reductions. So then, in what sense do you feel that the new space is going to be more progressive than the current?
In relation to the new space, it is quite clear from what Rich and Ian Borden are saying from their own benchmark analysis that this will be one of the top spaces in the world, a streetable skate space. It hasn't been done on this scale before, and it's a very innovative approach, and it has involved all the users. So my feeling is that from an educational point of view, this will become a world leader rather than a world lagger.
Growing up, following and being interested in skateboarding, I was always made aware that the Undercroft was the best place in London to go and skate. And then everyone that taught me to skate and everyone that I used to skate with would never want to go there, despite many times me asking. I was always curious as to why. And it was only when we went to start filming there that I realised that it's not a great place to go to skate. To say that it's the birthplace of street skating is something I don't really agree with. The great thing about street skating is that you can do it anywhere at any time. A set of stairs is never just a set of stairs for people that have that skateboarding mentality. And I think to say that man-made skate spaces don't work isn't true either. Plenty of places I know that are great places to skate remind me of things that I can walk past, or things that I've skated on, or things that other people have skated on and then told me it's a good place to go. I think the problem with the Undercroft is that now it's under the threat of closure. Everybody wants to be an activist and everybody wants to say that they skate there and everyone wants to feel part of that community. But in reality, there are a lot of people that will just sign that petition blindly and turn up to skate there because they feel like they're part of something that, to be honest, has gone. There's hundreds of places better to skate than the Undercroft, even if it's just down the road, even if it's just a stair set. There are hundreds of places that are better. I think holding on to something because it has cultural value isn't the best way to progress. Part of the great thing about skateboarding is that it's got that adventurous value to it, and it's all about finding new places and conquering new challenges. By holding on to the Undercroft, I don't think that can be achieved.
Hundreds of protesters descended on Lambeth Town Hall today to deliver their objections to the council, just a fraction of the 95,000 who joined a campaign group to fight the plans. The Southbank Centre says it wants to work with the skaters, not against them, but they've got an uphill battle to convince these Londoners that street sports will get an equal billing to high art.
Heaven is a half pipe.
If I die before I wake, at least in heaven I can skate. 'Cause right now on